All right, guys, section 11.2, the golden age of the bourgeoisie. I am... I need to get out of there because my lip is still ugly, so I just can't be seen on camera. So Peter Rabbit is here enjoying the sights and sounds of the golden age of the bourgeoisie today, and you can look at him. Maisie doesn't really like Peter that much yet, but don't worry, Peter. Don't look so sad. Maybe your life will have meaning later. I have no idea if I'm... Oh, that's all right. Okay. Let me close it. Set up my studio a little bit better. Okay. So, the golden age of the bourgeoisie. Golden age. Good times, right? So this late 19th century is when our bourgeoisie friends will have really the most success. So let's talk about the late 19th century middle class. What is this bourgeoisie like? With our typical stock photo of a family down here, with the husband, wife, 2.5 kids. I'm counting the dog as half. So that's where we get that. All right. So what are these families like? First of all, they are mostly liberal. We know that already. We know that they are about the protection of property. Bourgeoisie work hard to gather the wealth that they do. It wasn't given to them necessarily like the nobility, so they're going to want to protect the stuff that they have earned over time. So they're very liberal. They like the laissez-faire philosophy, and they also enjoy the natural right of protecting property is something that is incorporated there. They emphasize rewarding economic success. Now, of course, we know some liberalism there by the end of the century is going to start to be a little bit more interventionist, so it's going to maybe raise taxes on some of the bourgeoisie to pay for different social programs. But for the most part, again, the middle class is kind of working hard to have their wealth, to build their wealth, to expand their wealth. They want that to be protected and rewarded. They're very frugal, and they focus on planning for the future. There is a phrase, cry now, smile later. Work hard now, and then later you get your reward. So they want to do the right thing now, and then later see success. And three kind of pillars of their life: family, religion, and education. Education is an incredibly important thing for the late 19th century bourgeoisie because they see education as a way to improve themselves later and a way to show their national pride by learning about their country's history, learning about different subjects and things. These things that might have been only accessible to the nobility in the past, now the middle class can enjoy it. So, who is in the middle class? What kind of jobs are we talking about here? So I've got a lot of different pictures and different levels to show you. First of all, the numbers. 15 to 20% in Western Europe. Okay, so Western Europe, we're talking about that number. A little bit, significantly less. My hands are going crazy over here. Look out. A lot less in in Eastern Europe, as we've talked about the Industrial Revolution. The more east you go, the less you'll see. So without a strong industrial economy, the bourgeoisie will be weaker. So you have less in Eastern Europe, and until you get to Russia, and you see about 2% of their population could be classified as bourgeoisie middle class. That's probably about the year 1900. So who are we talking about here? Well, first of all, we have the upper middle class, and you've got some positions of jobs that you would not think of and classify today as middle class. You've got Mr. Banker right here. So I got a lot of pictures, so you got to listen to what these jobs are. You got Mr. Banker with his money, and then you have a sassy factory owner who is showing you a nice tie shirt combination going on there. So we got the factory owners, and we got bankers as the upper, the high tier. I'm scared to touch Peter because he's falling over easy. So he's just kind of sitting and looking at you and staring into oblivion. Diversified middle class. This is more of your basically middle class here. You have businesses, nice suit guy, a lawyer, and you also have doctors. So again, we don't consider doctors or lawyers middle class, or today at all, right? But typically, lawyers and doctors in the professional classes here were very much in the middle. And then you have the lower or petite middle class. You ran into the phrase petite bourgeoisie earlier this year. We have shopkeepers, we have teachers, Nice meme. I'll enjoy those. And you have secretaries. So there are different, those professional positions which came without maybe the prestige of a lawyer or doctor in some cases would be in the lower middle class. So again, this is very characteristic of Western Europe mostly. We've talked about why the bourgeoisie were present there. And that's where many of these groups will be working and present the most. So middle-class families, a little bit more. Look at that cute baby. I just have to get in here and look at her. Oh, my God. Oh, my lip. Okay. Middle-class families. Let's talk about a couple trends that are changing. Marriage. Okay, how's marriage changing as we get into the 19th century? Why are you getting married? Love. Oh, you're so cute and beautiful, and I love your heart. Will you marry me? Yes. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, a wedding? Great. Okay. Ooh. I don't know why. Ooh. Marriage is great. So why get married? In the past, why? Economic considerations. You waited until you could financially make it on your own, until you got, say, a trade, you mastered a trade, so that you could support yourself and your family. So when the bourgeoisie specifically, when they become more financially successful, you don't have to really consider economics as much in a marriage relationship. Whereas in the past, if you're a guy, you kind of worry about what a girl can bring to the marriage financially. That's called a dowry, D-O-W-R-Y, a marriage gift. But now, with higher levels of economic success, you're not going to worry about that as much. So you get married for L-O-V-E, love. However, because of the labor changes, because of the fact that the labor is taking place outside of the home, you do start to see in some cases emotional separations grow between husbands and wives. And we're going to look at an activity where we're looking at different visual conceptions of women's roles in the 19th century, where you're going to see that separation grow in many cases, and the different gender roles that were acceptable for the different for men and women. Children. So how are the kiddos faring? Well, again, think about it. We've seen this before, and it's going to be a continuing trend. If you are more financially successful, that means you do not have to have kids as a labor source. If you have fewer kids, and combine that with the fact that medicine and standard of living is high, which would increase the chance of them living, you're going to grow and cultivate a deeper emotional connection with your kiddo. So you're going to see less babies born in the middle class because of that. And the emphasis of, we'll get to that in a second. You're also with not only, being emotionally involved with them, but the spread of public education. Now you're making an investment in your child. So they're going to school. They're learning different things at school. You're more attached with them because your financial situation is much more successful. So really the foundation of the parent-child relationship today really starts to change here post-industrial revolution, during the second industrial revolution, when you see such a higher ability to connect with your child because people have the financial backing. You also see an emphasis placed on modesty for young women, and a lot of that is the attitude. We talked about a little bit about Victorian England, and there's a lot of proper and etiquette and formality that is given to the woman, and that's characteristic in many of these middle-class families especially, along with the nobility, is that you put those high social expectations on women that they will not be displeasing and they will not bring shame to the family in certain ways. So we're going to see that as well in these pictures. Now, speaking of women, we've already kind of looked at women in the late 19th and 20th century politically in terms of the suffragettes in England. And certainly the story of Emily Davison at the Derby, whoa, that's not supposed to go forward, go back, is probably the best story of women behaving badly. And of course that letter in that video we watched where the man wrote that letter to Davison while in the hospital, it's just incredible the amount of wrath because these women were operating outside the norms of what women were supposed to be like at this time period. With that in mind, let's kind of see some overall trends. And this is something we'll track, but I don't know why it's going forward. It's got a mind of its own. Okay, so like we've mentioned, work and lives of most wives are distinctly, it's like going forward on its own. There's like a ghost in here. Stop it. Do not go forward. Stop. Distinctly separate from their husbands by 1850. Okay, and we look. Stop. Good Lord. Oh, excuse me. We're having all sorts of problems here. So, whatever, just go for it. So they're separate. Again, labor has been taken out of the home. The men are working, the women are not, especially middle-class women. This is really annoying. Okay, I'm going to have to do this. So, like I said, women are working inside of the home. Their lives are becoming much more focused on the domestic responsibilities. It's a quote, the phrase, a cult of domesticity, that women are expected to be domestic creatures, they are private creatures, while men are the public creatures, and that kind of supplemented the expectations for women at the time, especially higher middle class women, that, hey, you live inside the home, you work with the kids, you do all that, whereas the man handles the public arena. Single women, however, what do you do, right? Because you don't have that that marriage relationship. Single women had actually at this point more job opportunities because of the professional growth at the time. Second Industrial Revolution increases the need for professionals like lawyers, doctors, things of that nature. Well, not maybe doctors, but lawyers, other shopkeepers and whatnot. And many single women are able to work as secretaries, waitresses, and we'll talk more about that in section 11.3, stenographers and working in the courts, clerks and nurses. All these opportunities come up because of the development of this modern economy, thanks to the advances in standard of living. And also, sexual chastity and marriage fidelity were law. Again, the expectation for women is that they would be private, family-focused on the family, whereas sometimes the double standard existed for men, that they could kind of have their eyes in other directions. Now, we won't forget our working class friends, just to check in on how their lives are going, because, yeah, the middle class, golden age, right? But the working class, they aren't doing bad themselves. By 1900, the lifestyle that we saw in the Industrial Revolution is gone, because what governments have started to do is to tailor many more programs to help the poor out. And the social welfare programs, we saw a lot of that. Go back and look at 10.3 for that. But you got an improved diet. You've got laws which restrict the labor of women and children. We saw that in the early 19th century. You have the use of birth control, which starts to help the working class families plan their families a little bit more and not have 20 kids running around. Not that they'd have that many, or maybe they would, who knows. So the working class life is also improving along with the bourgeoisie, but you still have a tremendous gulf in lifestyle between the bourgeoisie and the working class, which informs the need and gives us the need for political parties which speak the interest and voice of the working class. So with that in mind, it's good to be bourgeoisie, that's what I always say, and we'll keep that in mind going forward this unit and into the rest of the year to see how that middle class continues to grow in influence and ability. So Peter Rabbit is going to say goodbye. Oh, there he goes. He gave up. No, there he is. Looking into your soul, thanking you for watching and taking notes on 11.2. Goodbye.